Hello everyone, welcome to another World of Tanks Blitz video. I apologize for uploading this video a little late. It was Lunar New Year and I spent most of my time visiting relatives and stuff, so I didn't have the time to record this video. But anyway, before I begin, I just want to wish you guys a happy Lunar New Year, even if it is a little late. So, for today's video, since it's technically still within the Lunar New Year period, why not record a video featuring a Chinese tank? And what better tank to feature than the Glacial 112, that came out when I was busy visiting relatives. Honestly, this tank can be quite fun to play in, but also, its weak points are very annoying. Each person has their own opinions about this tank. My opinion is that this tank is like a fail attempt at remaking the IS-6. First of all, the 112 carries a modified version of the original IS-6's gun, the 122mm D25TA, which has horrible armor-piercing and high explosive penetration for its tier, but is able to fire heat rounds which has an outstanding penetration of 250mm. The 112 traded 20mm of side armor for 20mm more armor at its front. Even with 20mm more armor at its front, it can still be penetrated easily as compared to the IS-6. The obvious weak spots for the IS-6's front are the weak driver hatch and lower plate. However, both of which are difficult to hit and there's no telling whether you'll be able to penetrate its armor even when you fire at those weak spots. The 112 on the other hand, is a disaster. There's only one obvious weak spot, which is good because that would mean that it's easier to get bounces from the enemy's shots. However, that one particular weak spot, is so weak that even a KV-1, which is 3 tiers lower, can penetrate that weak spot. And that weak spot is none other than its lower plate. The lower plate on the 112 is 140mm thick, but unlike its upper plate, the lower plate is not as well angled. Therefore it can be penetrated easily there. The sides of the 112 are also weak points. The IS-6 can't really side scrape because the design of the hull makes it rather unsuitable for side scraping. The 112 however, can't really side scrape because its sides are not as strong as the IS-6's, and it doesn't have side skirts, so it is prone to splash damage from high explosive rounds. The turret of the 112 is sort of an upgrade from the IS-6. The 112 features a stronger turret armor at its front as compared to the IS-6. The IS-6 has a turret armor of 150mm at its front while the 112 has a turret armor of 240mm at its front. The sides, on the other hand, is the inverse. The IS-6 has a turret armor of 150mm at its sides while the 112 has a turret armor of 130mm at its sides. Overall, the 112 is a better frontline tank than the IS-6 if you can manage to hide that lower plate. Also, keep in mind that you can't always depend on your front armor for ricochets. The front of your hull may be strong from a distance, aside from that lower plate, but just like all the Russian heavies of that tier, it depends on Soviet geometry rather than thick steel armor for ricochets. Efficient from a distance, but the moment you go too close to the enemy, your Soviet geometry can't save you anymore. You'll have to then rely on your cheap and thin armor for ricochets. Because China, just like Russia, creates cheap tanks and get the best out of its thin armor. But anyway, that's enough of me talking and rambling about this tank. Let's see how this tank will perform when it's put in a 1v1 match against the tank its design was somewhat copied from, the IS-6. Just like usual, we will be having the two tanks face off against each other in a straight line. There will be 3 rounds. First round will be armor-piercing rounds only, followed by premium rounds in the second round, and high explosives in the third. One thing to note before we begin, is that the IS-6 featured in this video is mounting the stock gun. The one that fires APCR instead of heat rounds. Or basically, the original IS-6's gun. So let's see how well the 112 can hold against the IS-6.
I spent the last 2 weeks just spinning, trying to
That was rather close. If Hiriki didn't try to hit my commander's hatch, I would be finished long ago. Like I said, the 112 has a very weak lower plate, so having a face-off like this would be a disaster for the 112. The low armor piercing penetration value of this tank makes it even more difficult to fight against the IS-6, but of course, no one loads full armor piercing rounds on this tank. Loading full heat will still be reasonable, but loading full AP is plainly stupid. Try to find a balance between the amount of rounds you should load. Bear in mind that heat and high explosive rounds can't penetrate tracks or space armor. High explosives may be able to deal splash damage, but it won't be able to penetrate the armor. Let's move on to the premium rounds. The 112 may stand a chance in this round. Hiriki was lucky. The IS-6 has higher rate of fire with that gun, therefore he could win because of that. Next round will be high explosive rounds only. It should be rather interesting since both guns have the same amount of HE penetration values and both cause about the same amount of damage. We shall see who will be the victor this round. Yet again, RNG was on my side. I managed to hit Hiriki's loader, which reduced his rate of fire. So I managed to win because of that. Next will be the encounter battles. I'm not going to comment on anything in between the rounds like I do for the facing off part. During the encounter battles, you can see why the 112 can't really side scrape.
復旧しました。アコさん、いけます。白旗上がっちゃいました。
So I lost 2 rounds and won 1 round. Probably because I suck at driving this tank. But this tank can't really survive in a 1v1 match due to its weak lower plate and lack of side skirts, unless the person driving this tank is a Unicum player. So you'll still have to depend on your unreliable teammates for support when fighting in the front lines. But anyway, this video has gone on long enough. Time to end this video. I hope that you have enjoyed watching this video, or maybe watching me drive this tank suckishly. Either ways, leave a like if you've enjoyed watching this video and subscribe for more of these videos. I'll see you guys in the next video I make. Bye.